Very good morning to one and all present here. And without you, dear participants and attendees, this program is not successful. What we see depends mainly on what we look for. Very good morning, dear parents, our beloved students, and our dear teachers and other staff members and other invitees. Very happy Sunday. This is actually a visionary webinar, Vedanta talk on the education series. Let this day be very eventual. And you're all aware of the fact that our school, Vedanta Academy, cares for the holistic development of our child, of our student. It is a school for student-centric thoughts and approach. Today, let us spare some time for our well-being. We are in the mode of learning process, constantly connected through different gadgets. I think you'll definitely agree with me. The change are the changes of the law, and changes are only the constant. So definitely we have to adapt to the present situation, and we have to live with the gadgets at the present day. And the screen time increased in many folds too. So a management felt that it is our utmost responsibility to take care of our students' well-being. Today, we have with us two eminent personalities to address you on the topic, eye strain and refractive errors in children due to digital usage. I think it is very much need of the hour. And we are very thankful for them because they're very busy. And we have with us Dr. Atishwar and Dr. Sweta Atishwar. Dr. Atishwar was very busy in the morning. He attended a very, very important session in the morning and joining with us today. Really, we are grateful for sparing their valuable time and to create a vision for us to have a good vision too, right? I think you all agree with me. And it is my bound responsibility to introduce both of them, SH, right? And it is interesting to share with Dr. Atishwar's profile. And in this profile itself, he says that, right? And the person who gets the farthest is generally the one who is willing to do and dare. The sure thing but never gets far from shore. What a beautiful saying. Dr. Atishwar Das, consultant ophthalmologist at Medicare Eye Hospital and Apollo Specialty Hospital, is an achiever who elucidates the saying with a career graph. He completed his MBBS in 2002 with flying colors and was awarded the Dr. Chandra Bose Gold Medal for standing first in the clinical medicine in state of Tamil Nadu by IMA, that is Indian Medical Association. He completed the postgraduate training in ophthalmology from the world-renowned Aravind Eye Care System in the year 2006. He was adjudged the best outgoing students of his class at Aravind Eye Hospital and Postgraduate Training Institute in the year 2006. He passed the International Council of Ophthalmology Assessment exam in the year 2005 and 2007. He was recognized as a high-volume cataract surgeon at Aravind Eye Care System. The Ministry of Health, Government of India, appointed him to perform cataract surgeries in the remote areas of Tripura in northeastern India in 2007. Over the years of his education, training and work, Dr. Atishwar Das has achieved success at every step. Some of the accolades which have come his way over the year include Young Achiever Award in the Digambar Jain community for his outstanding excellence in the field of medicine ophthalmology in the year 2008 by Dr. Anbumani Ramadas, the Honorable Health Minister, Government of India. Dr. G. Venkataswamy, gold medal for securing the highest marks in the DNB exam at national level in the year 2008. Nominated by the Tamil Nadu Ophthalmology Association to participate in a leadership program organized by All India Ophthalmology Society in 2012. He has many publications in peer-reviewed journals to his credit. He has also conducted instruction courses at various national and international level. So many things are there to talk about him, and the time will not be enough to talk because he has done so much for the contribution of the society as well for the welfare of every individual, the well-being, and giving a good vision for everyone. Thank you so much for what you're contributing to the society, sir. Hats off to you and salutations to you for your great service. And to talk about Dr. Shweta Atishwar, ma'am is right. Really, she's a women visionary. We can say that she's contributing much for this. Right, the medical field, and her vision is totally different. And really, hats off to you, ma'am. And really, we have to thank all the doctors in this pandemic situation. How you are working for 24/7. Dr. Sweta Atishwar is an ophthalmologist, eye surgeon in Alvarpet, Chennai, and has an experience of 14 years in the field. Dr. Sweta Atishwar practices at Medicare Eye Hospital in Alvarpet, Chennai. She completed MS Ophthalmology from Madras Medical College in 2009 and MBBS from Government Medical College, Meerut in 2005. She's a member of All India Ophthalmological Society and Tamil Nadu Medical Council. Some of the services provided by the doctors and eye checkup, general laser procedure for retinal disease and LASIK for glasses removal. So many she has done for the service of the, towards the society. And we are really thankful for sparing your time and to create a vision, giving inputs for the welfare of our students and welfare for all the participants. And today they'll take half an hour to share their thoughts with you. And in the last 15 minutes, they'll be clarifying the doubts what you're raising through the chat, right? We will note down all the chat, whatever the queries and whatever, right, it comes to you, and we'll note it down, and it'll be clarified by them. So we are very glad, and over to Dr. Atishwar and Sweta Atishwar. Kindly, the participants, please, you can put on your queries in the chat box, and after a half an hour, they will clarify your queries. Thank you so much, and over to Madam and Sir, please.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction, ma'am. We are really happy to be here, doing our bit and creating awareness, and this is especially close to my heart. I am a pediatric ophthalmologist, and I deal with children day in and day out. I have a daughter of my own, so digital well-being is something very, close to our hearts, and we don't lose any opportunity.
You're experiencing right now personally, right?
Yeah. Yes,
ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. And over to you.
Yeah, good morning to one and all. And I'm glad that I see more than 110 participants today. And thank you for a very flattering introduction, ma'am. And initially, when Mr. Ramakrishnan came to us with a proposal about a Sunday webinar, and we immediately were reluctant because on a Sunday is the only day we get time with family. And during these unprecedented times, we try to spend as much time with our patients and try to dedicate one day for a family. But after going through the Vedanta profile and the quality of education you're imparting has made us very impressed, got us very impressed, and we couldn't say no. And that's when we agreed to come online. We're going to have a small presentation. First will be Dr. Shweta, the pediatric ophthalmologist, and she will be talking on common refractive eye diseases in children. Following which, I'll be giving few tips on digital well-being or the digital eye strain, which most of us are experiencing due to the new normal, which is work from home. Over to Dr. Shweta. Kindly proceed. Please share your screen.
Thank you, Dr. Atishwar. I'll be sharing my screen now. A very good morning to everybody who's tuned in. It's a lovely Sunday morning, and I'm sure a lot of parents and children are tuned in to understand what they can do better in today's age of online classes and, where we are depending on screens for literally everything, including education and entertainment. So I'm going to quickly talk about some commonly encountered eye issues in children. And Dr. Atishwar will touch upon what specific precautions we can take while using screens for prolonged hours. So there are lots of eye issues that children come to me with. Most common being refractive errors, that is eye power. There is also something called as lazy eyes, digital eye strain, squint, and shaky eyes. As you can see, it's an exhaustive list, but I'll be quickly running through what is more important and what is of relevance to us. So, good vision plays a critical role in the early educational, functional, and social development of a child. I cannot overemphasize the importance of having good vision starting from the early years of life. So that brings me to the most common problem that school children have these days, and that is refractive errors. A lot of children are not able to focus clearly either on distant objects or on near objects. So there are three common types of refractive errors. The most common being myopia or nearsightedness, where the child is able to see nearby objects clearly, but needs to wear glasses to see farther objects. The other common error is astigmatism or irregular vision. In this, the child cannot see images focused as sharp, the lines don't look sharp enough. So that is, we use again cylindrical lenses to correct this. And the third common refractive error is called hypermetropia or farsightedness. Here, this is not very common in children though. This farsightedness is a condition in which the child is able to see things that are at a distance, but have problems focusing on near work or reading. So like I said, myopia is the most common condition that we encounter nowadays. This is a very easily treatable condition. I'm sure at least about one third of you who have tuned in wear glasses for some kind of an eye power. And I'm guessing most of it is a minus power. So spectacles are the easiest way of treating this particular condition. We do not recommend contact lenses for children less than 14 years. The other modality of treating these refractive errors beyond 18 years is either a laser correction or surgery. Most of the times we recommend spectacles for constant use. I find a lot of parents hesitating to start very young children on spectacles, but I must assure you that there is no particular age at which spectacles can be started. If the child has a refractive error, it is very, very important that the spectacles are started as soon as possible. There is no stigma attached to it. There is, there's no cosmetic angle to it. Vision is far more important than cosmesis. So I'd like to really highlight this point that spectacles, if prescribed, must be used. There is no debate there. If your eye doctor says the child needs spectacles, the child needs spectacles. Okay, so there's no bargaining there. So coming back to what I was talking about, myopia or the minus eye power or short-sightedness is something that is increasing over the last few years. And now a lot of us ophthalmologists are seeing a sharp rise in the number of children coming with this kind of a power. Mainly, the one thing that has changed over the last 6 months is suddenly we've been exposed to a lot of screen time. So studies are going on to see whether increased screen time is the only culprit, or there are other factors in causing increase in rates of myopia. So the one thing to know is that myopia generally does not go away. As the child grows older, myopia generally increases. It stabilizes somewhere around 20 years of age, beyond which we don't expect much change in power. Hypermetropia, or the plus powers, on the other hand, may reduce as the child grows older. Astigmatism, or the cylindrical eye power that I mentioned, is very frequently associated with eye allergies. So children who rub their eyes very frequently or have untreated eye allergies end up getting astigmatism, sometimes may even lead to a condition called keratoconus or conical cornea. But we are not talking about that today. The biggest take home message that I'm willing to convey today is myopia. We are all in the midst of a pandemic. I mean, everybody's talking about corona. A lot has been said about corona, but there is a silent pandemic going on in the background, and that is the growing prevalence of myopia. A lot of our children today have this minus eye power, and now 28% of the world's population had myopia in 2010, which is equal to about 1.95 billion people. About 50% of the world population is expected to become myopic by 2050, half the world population. So you can look at these figures, they are quite staggering. And, but then of course, there are ways in which, we can stop this pandemic. Unlike corona, where research is still going on and, people are shooting at whatever vaccines or drugs that are, that can be used. Unlike that, myopia is something that can be controlled and that we can try and reduce its progression. So we do have certain drugs and certain other modalities to kind of prevent this from progressing and becoming very high eye power, which can also lead to other eye problems, something as common as retinal degenerations or even retinal detachment. So how can we reduce this? There are treatments like low-dose atropine eye drops, which are just a one-time night dose. Then there are special contact lenses called orthokeratology or soft bifocal lenses or progressive addition lenses. But more importantly, children must get daily outdoor playtime, at least about an hour a day, which is recommended by the World Health Organization. And reducing screen time has shown to be of benefit in reducing the progression of myopia. Now, I know as parents, we are struggling with the last 2 points, but that is something to remember, something for days to come. So myopia or lazy eyes is a condition in which there's poor vision in one or both eyes because of an improper development of vision in childhood. So there are a lot of causes, commonest ones being the refractive errors that we talked about, squint, or if there are droopy eyelids or cataracts or cloudy corneas. So of course, this amblyopia or lazy eyes, if caught early, can be completely treated. And we use modalities like patching or frosted glasses, and other such things. So lazy eyes is another pretty common condition, and parents need to be aware of this, and we also need to know that if it is detected early, it is completely treatable, and the earlier we start treatment, the better the outcome. So this is the hero of today's topic, digital eye strain. So I will be quickly talking about a few things. Now, the World Health Organization and the American Academy of Pediatrics has given certain guidelines about what is the optimum screen time for children. So according to the AAP, or the American Academy of Pediatrics, children below 2 years of age should have zero screen time. I would like to underline that statement. Children below 2 years should have zero screen time. We should not even expose them to digital devices before the age of 2 years. Then from 3 years to say about 6 years, up to 1 hour of screen time is okay. And beyond that, 7 years up to teenage, not more than 2 hours. This is the recommendation. Now, in today's scenario, with most children doing online classes, this may be a little difficult to follow, but we can see to it that these recommendations should, this is only for sedentary screen time. So if the child is doing online classes, not more than 2 hours a day, and we have a choice, we can choose how the screen time is utilized. So beyond 2 hours, if it is a class where the child is doing some physical activity, it is still all right. The one thing that we can totally cut out is using screens for entertainment. We can encourage children to do certain activities outside of the screen for entertainment. Something as simple as helping out with everyday chores can be, it's a win-win situation for both. So what are some of the symptoms of digital eye strain? The child may have dry and tired eyes or itchy eyes. There may be blurring of vision, headaches. Then, some children complain of light sensitivity. In extreme cases, it may cause squint or misalignment of the eyes, doubling of vision. And another very common thing is disturbed sleep. If we use screens late into the night, the blue light that our screens emit interfere with our sleep-wake cycle. So a lot of us, not just children, even adults, a lot of us will find it difficult falling asleep if you're browsing on your phone late in the night. So I'll just talk about a couple of things in digital eye strain. What happens is when you're looking at your screens, you tend to blink less often. When you're having a normal conversation or you're playing with your friends, you blink anywhere between 15 to 18 times in a minute. As against that, when you're staring at your screen, you blink only about 3 to 4 times in a minute. Now, this blinking action is very important for you to be able to see clearly. Every time you blink, your tear film spreads evenly on the eye and it cleans the eye. So it's like the windscreen wiper of a car. So every time you blink, your vision is good and the eye is hydrated and you feel comfortable. But when your eyes are open for so long and you're staring at the screen, your tears just evaporate, your eyes dry up. Okay, so that if there is no good tear film, you're not able to focus clearly, and then you start rubbing your eyes, and then there is eye strain, then the eyes start hurting, and then that can lead to headaches. Again, when you keep focusing on a screen for very long hours, 2 hours or 3 hours, the muscles inside your eye can sometimes go into a state of spasm. Like when you are exercising and you suddenly get a cramp, something like that can happen even with your eyes. So the one good thing is these symptoms, the digital eye strain bit, is temporary and can be easily treated and reversed by one single thing: reducing your screen time. Okay, and this is going to be dealt with in a lot more detail by Dr. Atishwar. So we'll wait for the next talk. Another common thing is squint or misalignment of the eyes. Now, a lot of children do have this very early on in life, and it's a very neglected condition. A lot of parents think, even sometimes the elders in the family say that, oh no, it's okay, it'll get corrected by itself as the child grows older. But that's not true. It's a myth. If the child has a squint beyond 3 months of age, please note, I'm talking about 3 months of age, it needs to be checked by an ophthalmologist. It could have underlying pathologies in the eye, or even certain life-threatening situations. So please do not ignore squints. If the child does have a misaligned eye, you must get it checked by the ophthalmologist. This is again a very common thing. A lot of children, again, because of increased screen time, I was mentioning, when the eyes become dry, the children tend to rub their eyes, and it's not every time that we wash our hands before touching our eyes. So if there's any dirt on the fingers, it gets transferred onto the eyes and makes them susceptible to infections. So these are the common conditions that I see. You can get these boils around the eye, or you can get something called as blepharitis. This can be easily treated with some lid hygiene measures and warm compresses, and the ophthalmologist will definitely prescribe antibiotic ointments. And despite that, if the boils don't clear up, then it will need to be cleaned up through surgery. So ocular infections, most commonly the pink eye or conjunctivitis. Now, there can be various reasons for this, most commonly viral or bacterial. It is quite common in children. Whenever you get a cold, sometimes you also have when you have a runny nose, you also have a watery eye. So this is a viral conjunctivitis. It is again, there are certain helpful tips. Whenever you have a conjunctivitis, use disposable tissues to clean the eyes. Wash your hands and face frequently. You should wear protective glasses. Avoid touching other people and avoid using shared things or fomites. Sanitize hands. I'm sure everybody is doing that now. and avoid over-the-counter medications. It's always best to seek your ophthalmologist's advice. So that brings me to the next condition, ocular allergies, and this also has increased quite a bit of late. There are mainly two types. It could be seasonal or perennial. By season, it usually we see this usually at the beginning of summers or the beginning of winters, whenever there's a change in season, and it's usually due to either dust or pollen or some airborne allergen. The treatment is with simple anti-allergic eye drops and syrup. Then there is this special condition called vernal conjunctivitis. Is a very common form of ocular allergy, and again, this is very frequently associated with intense eye rubbing, and that can lead on to other problems like astigmatism that I discussed earlier. This again can be easily treated with anti-allergic and steroid eye drops. So the other things, well, we also commonly see trauma in children. Something as simple as a pencil or the corner of a paper also can sometimes hurt the eye. But these can be dealt with if you need to have your ophthalmologist have a look, and these can be easily treated. So I think with this, I'm just going to come to a very important question. When is a good time to get an eye checkup done? So in case of newborn babies, if there is any issue, then like something called as or retinopathy of prematurity, or if the child is born with a very low birth weight, then in most hospitals, the newborns are screened for gross problems in the eye. Then between 6 to 12 months, we do recommend that the child is seen for any squint issues, any alignment problems. And if everything is fine, if the child has had normal milestones as certified by the pediatrician, then a good time for the first eye checkup would be somewhere between 3 to 5 years before starting preschool. And if there is no issue, if the child has very normal eyesight and there are no symptoms, then maybe once in 1 or 2 years is a good frequency for having eye checkups done. But if the child wears glasses, then before the age of 6 years, every 6 months eye checkup must be done, and then on once in a year. So thank you very much, and I will now request Dr. Athishwar to speak specifically about digital eye strain and computer vision syndrome, and what we can do, what precautions we can take to avoid it. Thank you.
Good morning, one and all. It gives me immense pleasure to address the students and the parents of Vedanta Academy. I am thoroughly impressed with the ethos and the values your school is imparting, and I can see from the online images as well as your web and Facebook posts that it's a school which is involved in sports and academics as well. And moving over to this new normal, it's going to be tough to digest for most of them that you are going to study from home for at least the next year or so. You have to adapt to this new lifestyle and also take it forward in spirit. So I'm going to just briefly talk on computer eye strain or digital eye strain, which is primarily for the students as well as the parents. Is my slides progressing? Yes, I'm just showing a brief clip on the human anatomy of the eye for you to better understand before we can progress. I think the video isn't playing. Let's move forward. I'll play the video on the end. So what exactly is computer vision syndrome? Computer vision syndrome is a general term used to describe a variety of vision-related symptoms that may be aggravated by regular use of computer for 2 or more hours a day. So most of us, or majority of us, do have this type of digital eye strain. So how it basically impacts us, it does impact our physical and mental well-being and definitely impacts our productivity as well. The symptoms of computer vision syndrome include dry eye strain, watering, and redness in both eyes. These are the symptom complex which most of the patients ignore, and they don't seek professional opinion, thinking that's, again, very commonly we encounter patients saying that red eye is just Madras eye or conjunctivitis. It may not be an infection, it will be your digital eye strain causing some amount of eye muscle fatigue. There are other symptoms which are non-ocular, which include your headache, neck pain, predominantly due to prolonged viewing of the computer screen for long hours, double vision and blurred vision. So what causes these symptoms? So for you to understand, I'm just giving you a small overview of this difference between a printed letter and a lump letter which appears on a computer screen, which is magnified around 32 times. Here you could see a printed letter is much more sharper and the edges are well defined, whereas the computer screen letter is very much pixelated. This pixelations will cause some amount of focusing and defocusing of the ciliary muscles in our eye, causing ciliary muscle spasm or fatigue. And moreover, these computer users, students who are taking these online classes, have a very fixed posture. They sit between the regular school timing from 9 to 3, and they have a fixed posture. The upper body remains fixed for a very long period of time. Constant gazing at near distance, as Dr. Shweta pointed out, will cause refractory error like myopia or short-sightedness. Eventually leads to convergence fatigue as well. The eye muscles do not get much opportunity to move around because of fixed viewing. The teacher wants the class to pay attention. They have to stare at a small screen for a long time, around 4 to 6 hours a day. And this eventually leads to uncorrected visual field effects and glare, lack of image clarity or glare more in the evenings. Another important factor which causes digital eye strain is glare and reflections from the computer screen. The primary source of glare on computer screen is overhead office lights or direct lighting coming through windows and bouncing off computer screens. This is another survey which was conducted among the Americans. As you could see, the percentage of digital device ownership in India, it's far higher. Nearly around 92% of the Indians have access to some digital device like a mobile phone, not a smartphone, digital tablets or iPads, desktop and laptop. So a significant amount of a daily time, waking hours, is spent in front of digital devices. And this has caused us new symptoms and new diseases, or rather digital eye strain, like I termed. Normally a person blinks around 15 times a minute. However, if you could pay attention when you're looking at a digital screen, your blink rate comes down to as less as 5 times a minute because of continuous staring at the screen. Blinking is very critical because it helps to resurface the tear film in the eye and also refreshes the tear film. Thus, in the absence of adequate blinking, eyes become very dry, irritated, and it eventually leads to eye fatigue and, more importantly, eye pain. This is a new definition given by American Optometric Association that anybody who uses computers for more than 2 hours a day is at a risk of developing computer vision syndrome. So what can be done to minimize computer vision syndrome? To begin with, the computer vision syndrome should, all of you who are undergoing digital online classes, do not brush aside your symptoms, however trivial or minor it is. Go for a thorough eye examination by an ophthalmologist, which includes a dilated examination. And apart from this, a few additional steps which I'm going to tell can prevent computer vision syndrome. First, that when they should make an effort to blink, don't keep staring at the screen. Try to increase your blink rate at least 20 times a minute. And this very commonly suggested formula by every ophthalmologist or an eye physician would be this 20-20-20 rule. That is, every 20 minutes, take a break from looking at a digital device. Look at a distance of around 20 seconds and blink 20 times. This advice has been incorporated in many of the IT companies where they get a pop-up when they're viewing the screens. I would recommend Vedanta Academy as well. And the teachers are taking online classes to make a conscious effort to ask the children to stop looking at the screen every 20 minutes or every half an hour and ask them to fixate at a distance, blink 20 times, and again refixate back on the screen. Alternatively, we can also hit blink every time you hit the enter key or the mouse key. So another important aspect which we tell to avoid backache and eye strain is adjust the height of the desk or the chair so that the middle of the computer screen is about 20 degrees below the eye level. And you should always have an upright posture. Don't try to stoop or slouch. Your spine should be erect. Your elbow should be flexed 30 degrees, lying in the elbow armrest. And that's how you have to use your elbows and the wrist over the keyboard. The screen distance should be at a distance of 16 to 30 inches from the eyes. That is around roughly 1.5 feet. Also avoid sitting in front of air conditioning or air draft. How to reduce glare? Direct the overhead lights away from the computer screen. Position your monitor so that the windows are to the side rather than the back or the front. I mean, in the beginning of the session when we started, I could see some people having the windows in their back, and definitely this sunlight causes extensive amount of glare because the newer LED or the digital screens which you use reflects light enormously compared to the older cathode ray tubes. You can always close the curtain, never keep the windows facing your digital screen. If possible, always try to install an anti-glare optically coated glass filter on your computer screen. Take breaks. If you're having classes, the teacher can make a conscious effort from taking break for every 30 minutes of work when the children are doing a particular task given to them online. Take a break every 30 minutes of work or between periods. Don't schedule the periods one after the other in tight succession. I would rather say give at least 5 to 10 minute break for the children to go take a coffee break or a drink break, let them have water and come back to work. Another common question which we encounter with patients due to this new normal where they consult us online is using lubricating eye drops when they have to use computer or view digital screen more than 8 to 10 hours a day. Many a times I see people using their social media or their mobile phones, taking them to bed and trying to drift to sleep looking at the screen. This causes enormous amount of eye fatigue and tear dryness. Normally sleep itself causes some amount of dry eyes. And when you take your mobile phone or your digital device to bed, we are only going to accentuate or aggravate the symptoms. And they come and ask us, what is the eye drop which we use? We normally recommend over-the-counter eye drop, but if we again classify the dry eyes or digital eye strain to mild, moderate, severe, and based on which we can give lubricants which are either preservative-free or which have transient disappearing preservatives. Another important aspect which Dr. Shweta did mention, I'd like to highlight is the blue light energy. A lot has been said about this new blue light which is being emitted by the digital devices. I think most of you are using your laptop or your mobile phone to see this online webinar. This is again a new normal. We no longer try to webcast or project it onto a screen anymore. We have the digital device, we have the entire web in our fingertips. Google is in our fingertips. So this webinar is as accessible to you as a simple mobile phone. So these devices, why I'm trying to highlight this is because these new age devices, the 4th generation AMOLED or the LED or the organic LED screens have much higher blue light or the white light end of the spectrum. The visible light is between the blue and the red. The red is much weaker in terms of energy, but there's a longer wavelength. The blue light has much higher energy, but shorter wavelength. Thus, the blue light impact on the eyes causes much more damage in drying up the tear film and more importantly, causing eye muscle fatigue. So here you could see the contact between the red light and the blue light. It's around 4.4 times higher compared to the red light or the colors in warm yellow. That's why we ask for a blue filter or ask you to go to a dark mode, or sometimes some mobile phones or the digital devices have this blue filter on where you can see the whites become slightly yellowish. It is called as the blue filter. We filter out the blue light. So the whites look much more dull or rather less saturated, and they look more like an yellowish hue. That is because we're filtering off the blue light, which is more harmful to the eyes. So I'd like to end this digital eye strain talk, but please do take care of your eyes. You have to continue computing for the near future. Follow the rules, which I told you, the simple points to follow. And if possible, have an anti-glare screen with blue coating, or you can also consult your physician or eye ophthalmologist for a blue protect spectacle lenses if you're going to attend online classes. Thank you. And if time permits, I just like to have some pointers on for children. Do we have time?
Yes, doctor. Apart from it, few questions are there from the attendees.
So let's take the questions.
Yeah. So it is really a very important questions, and very, I mean, we wish to know what is the reason and behind, and as well, right? And related to this online classes, only more questions are there. Apart from it, since we were talking about this, Blu-rays and blue this thing, would you recommend any special glass protection for the digital Blu-rays? That was a question.
Yeah, we'll take. I can see some questions. So
Yeah.
So yeah, the blue light hazard which I spoke to you about is I'm wearing a blue light, blue blocking spectacle lenses. There are different types. They are coatings, and now we have the newer types of lenses which are called blue cut lenses, where the blue block is impregnated in the lenses. You don't have a coating, because when you have a coating, many a times children tend to, mishandle their spectacles, and you see the coating coming off in few months' time itself. So now you have these blue cut lenses where the blue coating is impregnated within the lenses. So this lenses have much better blue light filtering capacity. What is commercially available cuts off only around 35 to 36% of the blue light, harmful blue light which emits from the digital device. Before you go ahead with me recommending you a blue spectacle lens, I would definitely say, if your digital device, your laptop or a computer has an option of a dark mode or a night mode, please go and opt for it. I think most of the newer apps, when you update, will have a dark theme or a dark mode. You're right from your Gmail to your other devices have a dark theme. So please use that. Don't have any white backgrounds.
Okay.
Thank you. I hope it answers the question.
Much. Yeah, sir. And a question about this: lazy eyes is like color blindness?
I'll take that question. No, lazy eyes and color blindness are two very different things. Lazy eye is when the eye hasn't developed its 100% potential. There is no fault in the eye structurally, but the vision hasn't developed fully. So that is lazy eye. Color blindness, on the other hand, is a completely different thing. There is a problem with the cones or the cells in the retina which are responsible for color vision. So those two are very different conditions, and amblyopia or lazy eye can be treated, but color blindness, at the moment, we do not have any treatment modalities. So they're very different. Yeah.
Thank you. The other question is digital strain. Is there any general eye drops for children from 4 to 12 years to use regularly?
Yeah, so
are you recommending any
not
eye
only
drops?
For even with the adults, the simple eye exercises which we recommend, the 20/20 rule, children normally have a good ocular tear film resurfacing. They just need to blink every time. Many of the drops which are commercially available over the counter have preservatives. So if you're looking at long-term use, we definitely wouldn't recommend them to use it for long-term, which means more than a couple of months. Do consult your physician, because children with good ocular health and tear film, we tell them to only supplement their nutrition. The nutrition which you can probably consider giving your child who's undergoing online classes would be to supplement his diet with a lot of fruits, fresh fruits, rich in vitamin C, E, which are good for your tear film secretion, which includes kiwi fruit, gooseberries, and we say different colored fruits from the rainbow colors.
Yeah, eat the rainbow. That's what we recommend.
Yes, grapes and adequate hydration. That's why I highlighted, take a break every 30 minutes of the class. Let them hydrate themselves, because online classes are also causing some amount of tear film resurfacing issues for children. When they hydrate themselves and blink, the tear film resurfaces adequately.
And if there are no symptoms, then we do not recommend using any over-the-counter eye drops. If parents are concerned and they want to start something like a preventive thing for the children, it's always a good idea to discuss with the ophthalmologist, because it's like no one drop suits all. So it's better to discuss with the eye
Better
doctor.
to, yeah. The other question from a parent. Hi, my daughter who is 10 years is blinking her eyes constantly. She's having screen time of 6 hours due to online classes. Kindly advise. This is from our invitee.
Okay.
Yes, this could point towards, this could again point towards a lack of image clarity which she has. Many a times children tend to blink frequently when they have a condition called astigmatism. Astigmatism is a particular condition. It's a refractive error in your eye where you will be able to see the object, but you won't have a sharp focus. When you lack a sharp focus, this will cause your brain to interpret it as a blur. And that's when you try to blink and try to refocus to see whether you're able to get a sharp focus. So please do consult a pediatric ophthalmologist. Get your eye examined. Children, we recommend to Dr. Shweta normally evaluates them with a cycloplegic drop to check for their refractive errors.
Exactly. She may have an underlying refractive error which needs to be.
Okay, fine. The other question, please tell us at what distance is advised for kids below 6 years and above to see the mobiles and computers?
Okay, below 6 years, no mobile phones. So as far as screens are concerned, the larger the screen size, the better, and the further the screen, the better. So in an ideal situation, if you have a smart TV at home, you can mirror onto the smart TV and the child can watch at a distance of about 6 feet in your normal hall. And if for very small children though, if you're using a desktop, about a couple of feet away on a desktop is still okay. But try to avoid doing online classes on a tablet or an iPad, and not at all on the phone, because the smaller the screen size, the more strenuous it is on the eyes. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. Also, please tell us on usage of optimum brightness of the screen for kids to reduce eye strain.
Yeah, so this again depends on the type of screen you use. Like we say that try to keep it below 50%. There are many digital devices which have something called adaptive brightness, because these digital devices employ a technology called liquid crystal display, LCD and LED, light emitting diodes. So you have more amount of pixels which are packed per inch of the square inch of the screen. So these pixels again have a tendency to make the lights appear brighter, more saturated based on ambient light surroundings. So there is an option in the newer devices, and you need to try to switch that mode on called adaptive brightness. So you don't have to keep it always below 50%. When you go out in bright sunlight and your screen is below 50%, your eyes are definitely going to strain to read those small fine print. So the screen itself automatically adjusts in sunlight, or when you're having a window glare, the screen will become more brighter. Whereas when you're in the dark, the screen becomes even 20% or 30% of its maximum brightness potential.
And we have few questions from students. What can we do if we have lazy eyes about 8 years?
So lazy eyes can be treated at any age. I mean, the earlier, the better. The treatment response is very, very good below 8 years, but even if it is, it's still not late. Okay, so first of all, the child needs to be assessed to determine how bad is the amblyopia, whether it's just a mild or a moderate or a severe amblyopia. Based on that, the child may be asked to do patching of the eyes, or now we have something called as perceptual learning therapy, which is for slightly older kids, the vision is trained up until the time that the development becomes 100% or normal. So there are modalities to treat, but yeah, that is to be done, with an ophthalmologist. So patching cannot be started randomly at home. There are, based on the degree of severity, there's a protocol, and we advise accordingly. So I read a question somewhere about, classes, online classes are for about 4 hours, and I also want to play video games for 1 hour. So what should I do? So I would suggest, I will never say, okay, don't play games online. It's okay to do that, but
Yes.
you can probably save it for the weekend when you don't have online classes. Because 1 hour a day of video games, all 7 days a week is something that, you can avoid, especially in kind of a situation. But yeah, weekend, you can even do 2 hours on Saturday, 2 hours on Sunday, because there's no other online class. So, and the same precautions to be followed. The 20-20-20 rule is something to live by in today's age. Yeah.
And one question from parent. We have detected retinitis pigmentosa for age 12. Is it good to continue with online classes?
Yeah, retinal pigmentosa is again a type of inherited type of disease, and it is one of the most commonly encountered causes of night blindness in our South Indian population. And as such, they have more type of dark night blindness or lack of vision in the dark. So we do recommend for those children to have a brighter screen. They can't have a screen like I had mentioned on adaptive brightness where you go with less than 50% saturation, because children may not be able to see clearly when the screen is dull or less bright. And your ambient light should also be increased. And for these kind of children who have retinitis pigmentosa with some amount of macular degeneration, we recommend a special type of spectacle filter called amber filter, which accentuates the colors so that they're able to see the colors better even in slightly dim surroundings. So they can definitely undergo online education classes.
Okay.
So the screen brightness should be slightly more than the normal.
And again, this is a question. Watching phone and laptop for prolonged time will affect MGD dysfunction.
Meibomian gland
Meibomian
dysfunction.
gland dysfunction, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Meibomian gland dysfunction is a part of the dry eye disease, as we call it. And though screen usage is mostly about evaporative loss, or I don't want to get too technical. Arteophon, just to make it a little simple, arteophon consists of 3 layers. Okay, though it's a layer of fluid, there are 3 components to it. Okay, the innermost being a sticky substance, or the mucus as we call it, and the bulk of it is like water, and the layer on the outside is oil, okay, or an oily layer. So this Meibomian gland dysfunction is something that is connected with the oily layer of the tearfilm alone. So now it is a vicious cycle. If you have MGD and you are going to do too much of screen time, it aggravates the problem.
Okay.
And if you don't have it and you keep on watching screens, all 3 layers of your tearfilm may get affected.
Okay.
So, and this is for people who are otherwise physically absolutely normal. And there are other conditions, people with thyroid issues, people with infections around the eye. So other conditions which may also have a bearing on MGD. So MGD is a very specific part of the dry eye disease. Again, people who have scalp dandruff may have dandruff-like flakes on the eyelids. That can also be a cause of Meibomian gland dysfunction. So, it's just a part of the whole spectrum.
We do a complete evaluation. It's called the meibography to assess the severity of Meibomian gland dysfunction we have. And alarmingly, what we found that majority, nearly 70 to 80% of our patients have some sort of Meibomian gland dysfunction. And many a times they don't know about it unless they come for a routine checkup to us, and we find that, and giving them lubricants, eyelid massages will help in completely reversing most of the symptoms.
Fine. And in general, people tell to stop using electronic devices an hour before sleep. But practically, as a 10th student, it is very hard. Any suggestion on that? It's a question from a student.
An hour before bedtime is not is it's very difficult. No, it's just 1 hour before bedtime. You know, when you can probably wake up early and then do screen time instead of, sleeping with the screen late into the night. So that is one thing I can suggest. But yeah, I do understand the pressure. 10 standard lots to study, but what is more important is getting that adequate sleep. And you can
Yeah.
probably try and be more efficient during daytime so that you don't have to stretch yourself into the night and read. Or screen time can be limited to daytime, and if you do need to read, you can read your books right until you sleep. That's still okay, not the screen.
Wonderful. Then, what are the nutrients we should adopt to improve eye strength and eye vision? Any specific mandatory advice at this COVID time?
Yeah, like I said, green leafy vegetables, spinach, collard greens, kale. You can give a lot of broccoli and also fruits which are rich in antioxidants, which include, like I had mentioned, papaya is very rich, the kiwi fruits, the blackberries, the prunes, they are rich sources of vitamin A, C, and E. Alternatively, you can people who are non-vegetarians, if they are able to consume the yellow part of the egg yolk, which is the richest known source of lutein and zeaxanthin. These two pigments are very essential for your color vision of the central part called the macula. And they can also consume flaxseed. If they are vegetarian, they can have flax seeds in a warm glass of milk with honey, which is a rich source of omega fatty acid. Or if you can consume fish, freshwater salmon is one of the well-known richest source of omega fatty acids. And hydrate yourself. Please do hydrate yourself.
Hydrate yourself.
Please 2 liters of water a day.
I think there is one question here. Is atropine eye drop suitable for everyone, or do we need to consult an ophthalmologist before administering this? Now, atropine is a prescription eye drop. It is not to be, and it's available in different concentrations. So, an ophthalmologist will take certain measurements, will determine if it will suit, that particular child, and will put the child on a specific regimen. So, it is not something to self-medicate. It needs to be done by an ophthalmologist. Okay, and I see a few, common questions about, though the recommendations say not more than 2 hours, online classes are going on for 4 hours, 5 hours. So what do we do? So yes, that is something that is beyond our control. The American Academy gave this recommendation before COVID crisis hit us. So it is still okay. It's going to be for a short term. We are hoping till about the end of the year, or maybe till the beginning of next academic year. So it is going to damage the eyes, very severely. So 4 hours, 5 hours is something we cannot avoid. But we can restrict other screen usage. So if you're doing 4 hours of online class, try not to do a screen at all for anything else. Like don't, then skip your TV time. You can probably go, walk around the building or read a book or, try out a new recipe. So what is unavoidable is, we cannot control that, but we can at least reduce other screen time, reduce social media time.
Yeah, actually our management is very specific that we have to follow this MHRD rules, and we are right from our pre-primary, we are very particular about the screen time for the students, and we have only 4 periods, 40 into 4. Till 1:30 only we have classes. So we are, Vedanta, we are very particular about the students' welfare, the vision of the students. And ma'am, one more question. One more question. Ma'am, I have a problem in blinking from when I was born. I will never blink until I think of the word blink. So is it a problem?
How old is this?
It's not mentioned, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay. a problem in blinking. I hope, I hope this person is not on any medication, because, there is I don't know, I think of something
There are
called as a
some,
staring, an
yeah,
epilepsy.
that's true. There are some
something.
neurodegenerative lesions which will cause
Inability to blink,
inability or
infrequent
infrequent blinking.
So,
They have a mask-like face. They just have a stare. You need to definitely consult an ophthalmologist and require a neurologist. If you have that
neurologist
problem.
opinion too. Yes, better to get it checked.
I think most of the other questions you have addressed in your presentation itself. Um, shall we wind up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Before that, I really thank Mrs. Kavita, Senior Relationship Manager, Apollo Shines, and she's the one who is the cause for this, to conduct this particular webinar. She recommended you, both of you, Shweta ma'am, as well as Atishwar sir. And in this juncture, we are very thankful to her. I would like to thank on behalf of the management, Kavita ma'am. Always she's with us. She's very, very supportive to us. And whatever things required at once, she'll be at our this thing. So thank you, Kavita ma'am. And really, it was a wonderful session, ma'am. Seriously, at this juncture, the parents must have got a lot of inputs and information and guidance from you. Really, we are very thankful to you. And again, we'll have a continuous session later. And we really need your guidance and support for the welfare of our students and for guidance of our parents. Thank you so much, Dr. Shweta ma'am, as well as Dr. Atishwar sir. Thank you. Wonderful presentation, wonderful session we had. And this juncture, I would like to thank all the attendees, our invitees, and the people from other institutions, as well as our teachers, our beloved students, and of course, our parents. Without them, this particular session is never a success, because they could spare time. They've understood the importance of the session, and they have spared their time in busy Sunday, right? And where, as sir said, the time to be devoted for their personal time too. But whereas they've understood the well-being of them and for their children, and they have given their time. And really thankful, and big hats off to everybody. Thank you so much. And really, we had a pleasant Sunday with your valuable inputs. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.